Welcome back to Matchday Matinee. The Terraces, the Theater of Dreams. Each week, we're taking a look at the cinematic takes on the beautiful game. Joining me this week, and you know what, guys? Forget about football for a second. Adam is coming home. Adam Ducker, you're hours away.
I know.
Coming home to England, right?
I am hours away from going home.
Perfect.
It is exciting stuff, yeah.
So you're leaving on Friday, I believe, and you're going to be in town Saturday. You're going to be in town for the final.
I'm going to be landing 8 o'clock Sunday morning, and I will be in town. Unfortunately, can't go to the game because I have to go into quarantine. But the plus side of that is just like how my dad got to watch the 66 final with my granddad when he was 16. I get to watch this final with my dad sat in his living room. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
You know what? If they do win, you can go onto your dad's roof and just sit on the
That's the
roof.
plan. I'm like, if I'd imagine people will pour out into the streets, so I'll just stay in his front yard and just watch it from a distance. Yeah,
that'll be cool.
We'll see. Getting ahead of ourselves.
Today we're joined by our second ever guest, our football friend Carlos Benites. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem, guys. Thank you for having me here. A pleasure.
If you don't know Carlos, and you should, he is the self-proclaimed design samurai / alpaca whisperer behind DIEZ football, and you can find him in the kitchen at Halifax Wanderers grounds once the door is open to you supporters, of course.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
What do you guys got going on today? I see, Adam, you're wearing the 3 lions again that you had last week.
Yeah, I have to wear it, right? Because I've got a secret to tell you guys. Don't tell anyone, though. It's coming home.
Man, let me tell you something about that. Like, I've been listening to that song before the Euro Cup. Like, I discovered it recently, that one.
Oh, okay.
And I really like it. And I like the video. Yeah. And I sent it to my girlfriend, and like, she's starting to whistle that song. Even like, she's not into football, but it's kind of catchy. It gets into your head. Yeah. You know, it's coming home.
It's an earworm.
Yeah,
I like singing it around the house. My daughter's now singing it. She has no idea what it means. It's kind of a worse song than World in Motion, but I think it's more timeless.
Yes, like World in Motion is very like 80s / early 90s. Yeah.
Whereas this is more like kind of folksy and lives on. Yeah.
It's because it's chanty, right? Whereas World of Motion isn't at all.
How many versions of that video are? Like, I saw so many, like 3, 4. I like the ones that they're looking when it's raining because it's so long.
Oh, yeah, so that's the 98 version where they reflect on Euro 96. So I think there's 3 like official versions, but a lot of people have done like cover versions of it and remixes. But yeah, there's like 3 official versions.
That one is
96, 98, and I think it's like 2010 or something they did one.
I like the one that they're looking at it and they're playing when Gareth Southgate fails the penalty.
Yeah, that's 98.
And they're saying, I still believe, I'm still believe.
That's the 2006 remote version. Yeah. Carlos, you're rocking the red sash of Peru.
Yeah, we didn't make it to the final, but I guess like we're fighting again for 3rd place, like classic Copa America from Peru. So we're playing against Colombia again, so it's going to be hard.
Pretty cool. And have you guys qualified for 2022 yet?
No.
Still on qualification stage?
No, we're just like, we're doing bad in the qualifying matches, but then kind of like, the problem was that COVID hit really bad.
Yeah.
And we couldn't play any friendly because the situation in Peru and South America was bad with COVID. And a lot of like Brazil and I think Chile played friendlies, but we were one of the few national teams that didn't play any game at all during the pandemic. Our league started late, so kind of like soccer was hit really bad back home. Yeah. And this Copa America, we bring a mixture of like classic style players and new ones so we can see them. So we discovered like some new talents that we can play for the qualifiers. So hopefully we start rising up in the table.
Oh, nice. Are you guys in the Olympics next month or no?
Who's that?
Are you guys in the Olympics next month?
No, we didn't. No. Like it's just Brazil, I think, as per usual. It's only Brazil because it's only one team from South America, I think, that goes to the Olympics.
Is it?
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never follow the Olympics. I'll watch it when it's on, but I never follow a second before or a second after.
No, yeah, I have no idea how you qualify for it or anything. Not a clue.
Yeah. All right, guys. Are you guys ready to dive into this week's movie?
Well, of course.
Do it. Okay, so this is our second Mexican film that we've done on the matinee. And today, on Carlos's request, we're doing Rudo y Cursi. This movie was released in December 2008. It's a tale of two brothers. It was written and is the directorial debut of Carlos Cuarón, and is produced by a trio of Mexico's greatest directors, including his own brother, Alfonso Cuarón, Guillermo del Toro, and Alejandro Inarritu. This movie has a running time of 103 minutes. It had a box office of 11 million, and that made it the sixth highest grossing Mexican film of all time. And that kind of gives you an idea of Mexico's emerging cinema landscape at that time in comparison with North America. I mean, opening weekend for a movie at 11 million is bad in like US terms, right? So kind of shows the scale of Mexico's box office. So those three directors and producers, pretty big deal, because I think they're the greatest of this generation of Mexico's directors. And they started their own production company called Cha 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 Films, and worked with Carlos to make this his directorial debut. They worked in the past on a movie called Y Tu Mama Tambien, I believe it was called.
Yeah, they had them together, the two actors. That was a good. That was a good movie.
Yeah, I wish I watched it before this, but I'm definitely going to go back and watch it afterwards, because apparently the characters that they're playing in this are completely different from that film.
Yeah.
And it's a really good movie from everything that I've read about it. I'm going to dive into the plot. I tried to keep it short. It might be a few minutes, so...
Sure, go for it.
Dive in. Ready?
Yeah.
In a rural Mexican banana plantation, we meet two brothers and talented soccer players named Tato, played by Gael García, and Beto, played by Diego Luna. Tato is a star striker with dreams of becoming a famous musician, and Beto is a goalkeeper with a short fuse who sees soccer as his way out of his shithole village, as he calls it. During one match, they are spotted by a talent scout, and he offers one of them the opportunity to go to Mexico City for a tryout with one of Mexico's top clubs, fictional club. As his roster is already too full to manage, he says he can only take one of the brothers, and Beto proposes a penalty kick to decide. Beto tells his brother to shoot to the right, which Tato interprets as his left. So Beto sees his opportunity go up in dust. After a slow start, Tato finally makes it big and earns the nickname of Cursi, which I believe is corny, just for his kind of childlike demeanor, right? After some pleading from Cursi, Batty finds a spot for Beto on a club in the capital, where he earns himself the nickname Rudo for his ill-tempered behavior in net. Cursi's fame continues to grow, and he attracts the attention of Maya, a famous TV personality that he and his plantation buddies used to fawn over and damage their Maya motor oil calendars too, which was one of my favorite lines in the movie. The fame proves to be too much for the brothers, as Cursi loses his scoring touch and fiancée Maya to what I can only describe as a knockoff Fernando Torres. I don't know if you guys got
for
that
sure, yeah, the guy that she's watching the game with the blonde highlights. Yeah, definitely.
Gringa, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rudo falls down a white rabbit hole of cocaine and a gambling addiction that's kind of been foreshadowed the entire movie, that he has some issues with that. At the climax of the film, the brothers' rival clubs, Nopaleros and Deportivo Amaranto, face off. Cursi, who's still lethargic from being knocked out the night before after this hotel outburst where he learns that Maya's been cheating on him with not Fernando Torres, is benched. And Rudo, who has been threatened with murder because he owes some very bad people a lot of money, has to throw the match, and he's got to sacrifice his near perfect shutout record. In the end, because of course it does, the match comes down to a penalty kick between Rudo y Cursi. And again, they do the stupid thing with you shoot to your left, I'll shoot to my right. Rudo blocks it, not on purpose. It goes off his midsection. He's carried off by fans. He's praised. He's gotten all the attention he wants in the world. But of course, he didn't throw the match, and now he has to pay. That comes in the form of these Mexican gangsters, who I'm not sure if they're connected to his father-in-law or not, find him in the street, shoot him, damage his leg. His career is over at that point. He has his leg amputated. Cursi, who's devastated by the loss of his girlfriend and his career, goes off to become a lounge singer, I believe it was. And they both kind of find peace with these more laid-back lifestyles. In the end, they both kind of realize that family above all is what they really wanted. And it took a leg and a career to realize that. That's the plot. Did I miss anything big in that?
I guess the only thing is the shady agent, like they're called Baton.
We'll get into it.
But
His role in the whole plot and how he kind of...
He's my favorite character of the movie. Because he represents how an Argentinian manager is, like, pretty much. But we can discuss that later when we go in order.
His Rudo's wife's pyramid scheme, I left that whole subplot out, but that was kind of interesting. She found her own way out of the village, but again, it's a pyramid scheme, so of course it blew up in her face. But yeah, a lot of good in this movie. I'm going to get into the cast, our starting 11 for this one. The movie stars Gael, García, Bernal as Tato, Cursi, Verduzco. So Gael, for me, Gael's turn as Curso in this movie was so good. Cursi, just such an endearing character, right? So genuine and hopeful. Carlos, started off. What did you think about this character?
Cursi, he's portrayed by Gael García Bernal, one of the best actors, like in Mexico, like top notch. He's even in a show called Moser. Moser, yeah, he plays Moser in a TV show. I don't know the name of the show, but he portrays that character pretty good. He's a high engrossing actor. Like Gael García Bernal is one of the finest Mexicans and Latin American actors. Same with Diego Luna, his brother Rudo. So the characters, like their preference, they were kind of on point. And one thing that I would like to mention also is the accent. Like the accent that they play, because Spanish accent, Mexican accent. For you guys, like you could say, like, yeah, he's speaking Spanish, but the accent that he had is from the north.
Oh,
and
okay.
and it's just like, because one of my roommates used to be from that area, and he nailed it with the accent from the north part of Mexico. Like they do it like just on point.
So it's kind of like the Hick accent, as they were calling it.
Right? He got called a Hick all the way through the film. Yeah.
It's on point. Like you can tell, like these guys like really, really study these people, how they talk, how they walk, like the accent, everything. It was just like top notch.
Awesome. Adam, I know you're a sucker for music videos mid-movie. What did you think of his I Want You to Want Me Mexican cover?
The funniest thing is I sat, I'm like, where on earth have I heard this song from? And I was like,
10 Things I Hate About You.
There's 10 Things I Hate About You. And I was like, oh my God, I hate myself for knowing that. And I was like,
that's a good movie.
But yeah, that I did love that music video in the worst possible way.
So
it was
good.
So cheesy. Like there was a bit where he had a cowboy hat and a ball balanced on his head, and I'm like, that is incredible.
Yeah.
More of this.
So funny enough, it sounds like the bulk of the filming for that movie went into that music video. Like they spent so much time. They said they had like hours and hours of footage to make that music video, and it's based on a Mexican station called Bandamax, I think it is, which is like the Mexican MTV. Mm-hmm. And all of those cliches, all of the stupid things you saw in that music video are common elements of like Mexican music videos.
Wow.
And apparently that whole dance, like the I Want You to Want Me dance and everything, became a tradition at Mexican weddings, and people are doing their own versions of it on YouTube and everything. So it really took off like beyond this movie, because you got to think this movie was pretty big in Mexico if it was the 6th highest grossing movie of all time, right?
Right.
It was on festivals, I think, internationally, that movie.
Yeah. Cannes for sure. I think Tribeca as well. So it did pretty well. And I guess coming into it, like Y Tu Mama Tambien was a pretty big festival movie. So a lot of people had kind of anticipated this follow-up to it, right?
Yeah. That was a fun movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like they catch the essence of the whole movie, how it is, like, as you say, Bandamax. I remember back home, like in Peru, like we're in cable, we used to have that channel, Bandamax, and it was like all like, they call it like not rancheras, but it's kind of like music from corridos, they call them in Spanish, like in Mexico.
Like cowboys, kind of?
Like cowboy stuff, like Texas, like with a big belt here.
Okay, like the cliched, like Texas.
Not
the
Texas.
Traditional Mexican.
Not a traditional. Yeah. So that's how like they play it like that, and it was just like with the accordion and everything. It was just perfect.
An accordion.
And they make that song become a hit. I googled some facts, I think, and as you mentioned it before, like it became a hit, like kind of like became viral when the movie was launched.
The Mexican Gangnam Style, like I'm picturing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and he was pretty good at it. the movie, like I remember when I came to Canada 14 years ago, I didn't know about the movie at all. Just a friend of mine told me, you haven't seen it? No, we gotta watch it. And we laugh. They have so many cheesy lines that are really funny because they're so true in our nature. Like there's a part in the movie that he comes with a paint with the Jesus Christ, and it's an hologram. His
eyes open and shut.
The eyes open and shut. Yeah, okay. That line is so funny because it's so true, because it's so tacky. Like like
people have similar stuff, right?
You go like low income families, like back. Like, I don't want to sound disrespectful or anything, but like a lot of low income, like in South America, they have that typical Jesus Christ picture over there, and the fact that it was in 3D hologram make it even funnier because that thing exists, and you could see like people hanging those in the living rooms.
It's funny. Like the first time I went to one of my college friends' dorms, they're like, "Oh, just a heads up, my roommate has this really scary Jesus picture on their wall. It's really weird. He's like bleeding and stuff like that. It creeps us out every time we look at it." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then I go there and I see it. And like my grandmother has like an 11:17 version of that picture in her basement, so I just got to play it off like, "Oh yeah, that is weird." Meanwhile, it's super common, right? But I guess it's just in Canada, it's not very.
Yeah, it's like the culture is very like religious oriented, Like I remember, like
it's more guilt-based religion, where it's like, look what Jesus did for you, and you're gonna act like this.
Yes,
you're gonna go out and make a fool of yourself after Jesus did that for you, right?
Agree. My grandma used to have a big crucifix. We used to make fun of her, like she's kind of like, that's too much. What is that for? Like a giant crucifix? It's too much and big,
Yeah,
it's kind of like go big or go home. Who has the biggest crucifix?
Yeah, my parents had that the rosary above their bed were like the beads on the rosary were like this big.
Or the Last Supper.
It was a rosary. The Last Supper, yeah. So we got off topic of Gael's character. But, it sounds like we all loved him. We loved his like bad dye job, and at one point he had the Star Wars Padawan rat tail coming out. So moving on to Beto, Diego Luna as Beto, Rudo Verdesco. And I'll be honest, like I wasn't familiar with Diego Luna aside from his character in Star Wars, Rogue One.
Yeah, Rogue One.
Yeah, but he's a Mexican idol, right?
Narcos.
So cool to see him in this. In Narcos Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Which was the follow-up, but wasn't the original, I think.
No, and also Joaquin Cosio, which is like one of the best actors, veterans. He's in the movie too. He plays his father-in-law.
Anufo, probably.
Yeah. Joaquin Cosio, like he always plays those roles, and he always nails it. He's also in Narcos, so yeah, his character was so good too. He nailed it in every aspect. He was always cranky, always moody, wanted to pick a fight, and the
My
funny
gun
part
is bigger than yours.
Yeah, and the funny part is just his accent was even thicker than Diego. Sometimes I couldn't understand him because he speaks too Northy, too Mexican from the north. Like it was just like very, very funny. He nailed it.
We're gonna come back to this later, but I want to ask you: did you watch this movie with subtitles or without?
Oh, without.
Okay, so we'll come back to that later because Adam and I both have a question about that. Yeah. But Adam, what are your thoughts on this character Rudo, who I wanted to hate so much, but I found myself loving him. I found him almost as a grown-up version of the kid from All the Freckles in the World.
Yeah, just a sullen, like, asshole who kind of thinks the world should be given to him on a platter, and then it kind of is, and then he still blows it because he's an asshole and he can't help himself. Like, he has that self-destructive streak, which he just can't help with. It's not fighting, it's gambling. If it's not gambling, it's drinking. There's hints that he might do drugs as well.
He leaves his family in the middle of the night. He tells his wife he's got to go load 2 trucks, and then he just
it's just a piece of shit. But I can't help but like him, and like I kind of wanted him to get the shutout record. I was like, get it. Yeah. Who cares? I don't care what happens to you. Get it for your own pride.
It's just I wouldn't want to be in that guy's inner circle because it seems so destructive. But just to watch him, even with the bald kid, where he's like, "Go tell my brother." Like I think he said something like his mom's a whore or something like that. Yeah. Because his father. Yeah. No, they have the same mother, different fathers.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And even that there was so many good lines throughout this movie where it's like, people love my father. He was French. And he's like, your father wasn't French. They called him Frenchy because he smelled in the middle of their argument. Many good one-liners.
The movie, it's well written. Let me tell you, like the way that, I don't know if we can discuss this later, but when the narrator, which was Batuta, who narrates the movie, the way that the analogies that he made about the love of a club is the same for the love of my mother. I was like, that's poetry. It reminds me of a writer that writes stuff like that. I forgot the name. But he's so good at it.
The Proverbs.
It wasn't. It always cut in at the right time, kind of. I always find some voiceovers either they're like too heavy-handed or not enough, but this felt like a good balance. Like came in at the right moments to like transition between scenes and kind of tell the story from a different point of view, not how we were seeing it. And then a lot of like these philosophical like life messages that related to both of the brothers. It was really good.
So let's move on to Batuta then. So let's talk about Guillermo Francella as Dario Batuta Vidali. And he made the movie for me, like you were saying, just his narration throughout. His nickname is the conductor, and he tried to play it off like he was a maestro on the field, but they were saying that's the only job he could get. And he was the one kind of orchestrating everything that happened in this movie. And perfect character. I love him. You wanted to hate this guy, but
no,
he's such a scumbag. He rolls into every single scene with a different girl in his arm. He's the kind of guy you want to hate, but if things are going well for him, he's not like averse to sharing the wealth with everybody, right?
No,
you can't help but hate him. But go for Carlos.
He's Guillermo Francella. He had a show in Argentina, prime time, called Ponea Francella. I watched it when I was a kid.
It's like a talk show?
It's kind of talk show, kind of Jimmy Fallon, but with more sketches. It's a mix between Jimmy Fallon and Saturday Night Live, like a mixture together. So that was Ponea Francella. That was his show. So in the 90s, like he became very popular. So he had a different characters, always playing a womanizer, like a scumbag, sleazy guy, and all these characters that he made, Cuarón put him to play Batuta, and he's perfect for the role because it's just Francella being Francella, Yeah. And that he was my favorite character, like the way he acts, giving them the same soup to everybody, put them in a shithole. The players that comes, like he's scouting, and he promised them whatever, and then they go to a shithole just to sleep, and
with a bag of instant noodles. The ramen noodles and stuff like that. These are good and stuff. So that he was just, and he's always in every scene. He's with a different woman. That's one of the characters that he played in Francella too. Like, he was just like, oh my God, it's awesome. Like you were saying, the metaphors. I think one of my favorite ones was he's talking about goalkeepers as ravens, right? Like they're just ominous birds and solitary creatures who watch from a distance and they rain on everyone's parades.
Yeah, point.
Yeah, he just has so many of those throughout, and it's so good.
Yeah. He's like the best character in the movie easily. He's always selling something as well. Like he's not only like he just sells dreams. It feels like he gets tattooed a football career, but then also the record deal, and it's just like he puts these players in this shitty housing, but he does still somehow deliver. But behind it all,
he doesn't lie.
Like. At first, I thought, I wrote in my notes, is this some sort of scam? Because when he gets to that house, I was like, crap, he's going to take advantage of them or something. It's all a Swizz. But it's like, no, actually, he sorted them out, both of them, each in their own way. He gets that house for him later and stuff. It's this massive, beautiful house. He's a great character, but also a scumbag, utter scumbag.
He delivered everything on his part, right? He got the house, he got the SUV, and it was just Rudo and Cursi were just so self-destructive that they caused it on their own. One character I didn't have written down, but I want to mention quickly is Maya Vega, just because she was kind of pivotal to so many scenes, like Cursi's blow up when he gives her the ring. And I'm 100% sure she was just about to break up with him.
Yeah.
Because she disappears not long after that, right?
That was so tacky and funny. Where he plays his Cursi, right? Like he's corny, so that's why he gotta give that ring. But Batuta always is orchestrating everything, and even until the very end, everything. If you analyze all his schemes through the movie, all plays together. He has a plan A and B and C, and somehow they're all connected. in some way. He controlled everything.
Yeah, like even towards the end when he forces the manager to bring Tato onto the pitch, he's like, he has all these secrets that are like leverage on him. He's like, you're cheating on your wife, I'm going to tell everyone this.
Right.
So then he hangs up, he's like, fuck you, I'm not going to bring him on. He hangs up and then he's like, oh shit, actually, I better bring him on. Yeah, and it's like all this machination, of him getting his way to win a bet that he's like double downed on.
Yeah, even bringing Rudo into the little gambling scene, right? That led up to him having to throw the match.
Yeah,
just to pay off those debts. So I don't know if we mentioned this, but Diego Luna and Gael García Bernal, they've actually been friends since they were like little kids, starring in telenovelas, which is why they have such amazing chemistry, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else with the cast you guys want to mention before we just kind of talk about the film in general?
From the cast, I forgot to Google this, but we can double check this later. The guy that he was a friend of Rudo from the gambling.
Yeah.
Do you remember the guy? Yeah.
The guy in the grocery store and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he is the guy that created Club de Cuervos.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure. But I have to Google that. But because I saw interviews of the creators of Club de Cuervos. He has a Jewish last name, the guy, but I don't remember. I have to Google that, but I'm pretty sure that he looks like the guy that created Club de Cuervos.
And that's another good show too, actually. I've gotten like maybe a season into that and I still want to finish it.
Yeah.
And then there's a spin-off as well at this point now, right?
Is it?
Yeah, there's Club de Cuervo and there's like another show based off it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so there's a ton of, it's too much to watch at this point.
Sweet.
We kind of mentioned it, but talking about just the movie in general, like the atmosphere and the music and everything, I love the opening shots of the movie when they're just showing Mexico and how like woven football is into the culture, like the painted goal posts on the cement walls.
And that song that's playing.
Yeah, the goalkeeper gloves. Speaking of Jesus, goalkeeper gloves on the Jesus statue.
Yeah, that was the best.
So much of it.
And
sorry, Abby, you were mentioning
that backing track that's at the opening of the film, and it kind of plays throughout the movie, just fits like perfectly. I feel like this is almost the movie that Pele Birth of the Legend wishes it was, because it like nails the tone, everything in the nicest possible way. Everything's like dirty enough. Like in Pele Birth of a Legend, it all looks so sanitized. Like where he lived was like prefabricated building, like it looked too clean. But this just absolutely nails it. It looks perfect. It's obviously either filmed on location or filmed in a very like
even the pitch. It's they call it potreros. Like it's Batuta says it's a potrero. Potrero is like kind of like a dirt pitch in Argentina, where all the best Maradona was discovered in that. Like all the best players that come from low income families, that's what they play. You know, like you just need like a rusty like goal with no net and just like a dirt and that's where you go and play.
Yeah, and if you can play on that, you can play anywhere, right? Even like field turf in an NFL stadium in MLS. And that's why they excel, right?
Yeah.
True.
Okay, so this is one thing that I wanted to bring up, and Adam and I were both discussing this and talking more about it. I think it's just a nature of the subtitles, but there was a lot of homophobic language in this movie.
Yeah.
And so in the subtitles, there's tons of it, right? But then I noticed at other points that some of the things that people are saying, like somebody would say like mi amor, right? And they would translate that as either cupcake or honey. So that told me right away, these subtitles are inaccurate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with like Mexican soccer culture, there's the infamous like chant, right?
I know why you say it homophobic, because Mexicans say cabrón a lot. Right. And they probably subtitled that as an homophobic thing, but it's not. It sounds like it, but cabrón is like a fucker, you know?
Yeah.
Or saying like it's and they say it often, and often you're gonna see in the movies when they say cabrón, some subtitles translated wrong.
Yeah.
And it tends to see like homophobic. The only homophobic line that I saw there, it was when he got baptized, Rudo, in the shower when everybody were naked.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Anything else about this movie you guys want to talk about?
There's one character I really like, who's only in it shortly, that we missed out. He's called Porky, and he's the guy that threatens Tato. Like, they're outside a stadium, I think, and he's like, hey, if you don't score, we're going to kill you.
Hooligan.
I swear we're going to kill you.
Give your autograph.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm gonna kill you, can I have your autograph? And he's like, my name's Porky. And then he's like, oh, can you do one for my girlfriend as well? Her name is whatever. And then like how it's spelled out. And it's just like, that's such like football culture. Like absolutely hate them, but still enamored enough to get an autograph from you, of course.
Yeah. The hooligans, they nail it perfectly. It's pretty much in every word. Like you're from England.
Yeah.
You know, too, Mark, like it's just like that. Like you probably boo him, abuse the player on the pitch, you know, verbally tell him like everything. And then when you see him, can I take a selfie? Because of course he's a player, right? And if he remembers you somehow, he knows you, he will do it, or he will tell you like, you know what, fuck it now, you know. But it's part of the game, I guess.
Another thing that's part of the game that it kind of touches on is like bung culture, because a lot of the coaches he's talking with, he's like, oh, if you sign this player, I'll give you 10%, and they're like, no, 20%, and they're like, no, 50%, and it's like, we all know that happens, and managers like have offshore accounts that stuff goes in, or like racehorses named after them, and they collect the winnings from the racehorses. Was quite a common thing in England at one point. Like, we know that happens. It's just funny. Like, it's like, here's this like ground level and it's happening there and stuff. And it's just like,
we're seeing that happening now with Benfica, right? Like
exactly.
The president just got arrested.
Crazy stuff going on there at like a higher level.
Yeah, but back there, like it's just in Mexico too. Like they have that's how they operate, and also they have that gentleman pact. And that is secret, you know, like if you have, like, you don't touch a player and you have like kind of a behind the scenes, like gentleman pact, and you violate that, all the clubs know, and then your player will never get signed again.
Right.
Or you do some sort of a deal, like something like that. Yeah, it's so common in South America too, that kind of stuff. It's so corrupted, you know. But we never know, you know, like in Europe, probably the tabloids will portray those stories more, because once it goes public, then you're screwed. But you're going to see that like eventually, like
flies under the radar. Yeah, that was another part that's kind of like the football world of Mexican soccer that I loved. It was when the team got relegated to the second division, and then he's telling Rudo, "Is like, no worries, you'll still be a first division goalkeeper." He's like, "How does that make sense?" Oh, the owners just bought a new franchise. That's Mexican soccer, and we've seen that, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the last few years, you've seen like a few franchises move from one city to the next, just because the club got relegated. Those owners bought the other one, and then a new city rebranded it, and they're off to the races again.
Morelia was one of those. The most recent one, they rebranded, and now they're purple, and they used to be like bright yellow and red.
Yeah, they were supposed to play a friendly here in Mississauga.
Really?
And it fell through. That's what we heard. Yeah, but they became Moti something. I can't remember. But it's
Mazatlan.
Purple Roundel crest, right?
Mazatlan FC. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Before we move on to our next segment, let's take a quick break. We're going to introduce a new segment right after this.
All right, guys and girls, how's it going? It is time now for the Football Friends film pick. Oh, Football Friends. My favourite football film has to be Football Factory. Of course it is. It's the best one. Fact. I actually can't think of any other one, apart from that one with the little hobbit fella in it, which was rubbish. Anyway, let us know what your favourite football film or documentary is. Oh, to be fair, there's a lot of good documentaries, isn't there? I just watched the Alex Ferguson one on Amazon the other day. That was really good. Really loved the Maradona one. Ronaldo one was mental. That was just a great big vanity project. There's a Messi one, isn't there? I don't think I've seen that one. Maybe I'll watch that one next. Anyway, I think that this has gone on way longer than the guys wanted me to do it. It's not like I've got a lot on at the moment. So, anyway, enjoy.
Welcome back. That is our brand new segment, the Football Friends Film Pick. And we couldn't have thought of a better person, a better football friend to kick it off than the original himself, James Buckley. James, of course, portrayed the legendary Jay Cartwright on the In-Betweener series. James's first pick, his only pick, was the 2004 Chelsea hooligan film, Football Factory, starring Danny Dyer, which was also produced by Rockstar Games for some reason. But I'm sure we'll get to that on the matinee at some point. Kudos to James as well for going above and beyond and recommending a bunch of documentaries for our listeners/viewers to check out. Look for more Football Friends film picks in the future. And now back to the show. So his first football pick was Football Factory. So that Football Factories will be our first Football Friends film pick. We'll get that up on Twitter. And if you're watching, if you're listening, if you're following us on Twitter or Instagram, give us your Football Friend film picks. It's a mouthful to say, but we just want to get the Football Friends in there. We had to do it. Make sure you send us along your pick for Football Friends, and whether it be a documentary, a movie, cinematic movie, or even a TV series, just let us know what you love and we'll share it with our Twitter followers. All right, guys, let's talk about Footy Flicks in this movie. It's pretty interesting because there was a lot, but at the same time, there wasn't. There's a lot of training. We don't see much football action in this movie, but I want to say that I didn't feel cheated. Like the atmosphere of the matches were captured perfectly. And then conveying the action through play-by-play and fan reactions was like such a perfect choice to not just suddenly flip this into like a sports movie that's usual, like David versus Goliath, like sports cliched movie. So we still got that brothers rivalry to come through, right? But what did you guys think, Adam? I'll throw it to you first. What are your take on the Footy Flicks?
Initially I was disappointed because every time... So there's that first game where the baton comes to watch everything, and I was just like, oh crap, all we're seeing is his reactions. And then they go to Tato's first game, and he's like, hey, I'm going to show you can score. And you keep seeing the net like rippling, but it's the coaches and his. And I was just like, I kind of feel like I'm being cheated a little bit here. But like you said, like when they get to the actual games, I feel like they totally nail the atmosphere. Like the crowd feels authentic. They have cast members in the crowd that we know and stuff reacting to the games as well. And it just makes up for it. And then we just about get enough Footy Flicks. There's a couple of bits where we see some of Tato doing some like tricks on a CRT TV. It's just about enough, even though it looks like there's something weird going on with the ball there, because it looks like it's like a solid mass. It's like it looks like it moves so rigidly. It's like it's being pulled by a stick that they then edited out or something weird. And then we obviously get the penalty at the end, which is, I don't know how many takes it took them to film that, so they pulled it off in slow-mo because it's the only bit of Footy Flicks, but it's kind of worth it in the end. That's the only true bit of like live footy action we get.
The ones that...
Yeah, go on, Carlos.
Go for Carlos.
There's one that I like from Rudo. Like he goes and punches, like there's a corner and he just starts saving a few ones. It looked really real. Like I was like, wow, that's pretty good. Like it looks like, I don't know, not Pickford, but
Casper
Schmeichel.
So both of these guys are actually like Saturday morning league players. They never went professional, but they do. I guess growing up in Mexico, it's going to be part of your culture anyways. But they were both Saturday morning league players, enough so that they were kind of comfortable with the ball. But that one part you mentioned was a CG ball. They had to CG it. It's too much. And they didn't want to use a body double. But the whole thing, so that whole thing that we mentioned about how there wasn't really action shown was done purposely by Carlos Cuarón. He was inspired by a movie called Funny Games, which was like apparently one of the most violent movies ever. But at the same time, they didn't show any of the violence on screen. So he was inspired by that to kind of show a passionate football movie about two brothers without taking away from those two brothers. So I think like mission accomplished with this, right? He did an amazing job with it. So
yeah, it worked in a strange way. It's like some of the best Footy Flicks we've seen without there being much actual football. That's what I was mentioning. It's ironic that it's one of the best Footy Flicks that we've seen with no football in it. So it sounds like, go for Carlos.
No, I think that also the movie, like it's well written, like the story too, that it kind of like hooks you in. Like even like as a football fan, you go expecting, I want to see football like flicks, I want to see this, I want to see shots. And I agree with Adam, like I wanted to see, not the ball being kicked on the net. I want to see like him kind of like doing like they did with goal, and at least try, like just do the post that you're gonna kick it or something. But the way that the movie works, it worked perfectly, and it gets you hooked into the story. Even if you are a football fan that doesn't want to see a drama, just want to see a movie about football, somehow the movie gets you hooked into the story, you know?
Yeah, by the time that scene rolls around, you're invested in the brothers and you want to see what happens to them, right? More so than the football match itself. And I always say that, like, if I want to watch a football match, I'll go watch a football match, right? I want to see kind of like a dramatized, like, cinematic take on it in this. And
and I like too that the part that when Rudo's wife was asking for her blender that he put on a bed, and then at the end he bought her like a fancy blender or something. Like it was just the blender all the time, asking for the blender, and he got it. Same with the arcade that he had at his place.
Is that a real football game?
I couldn't figure out what it is, but
it looks really bad. It looks like kind of like I don't know what the term is, like puppet figures, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was it didn't look anything realistic, especially for that time, like 2008.
Yeah, I tried looking up like arcade football games and couldn't see any screenshots that look similar to it.
Yeah. There's one quote from Carlos Cuarón who said, football is perfectly unpredictable, which makes it almost impossible to film. And it's true, right?
Yeah.
It's 90 minutes. That's why we watch it. 90 minutes where anything could happen. The match could end like 0-0 and it'll still be the best match you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, you try and script it and you can't do it. Like, look at some ridiculous examples we've seen, like when Saturday comes where like Sean Bean basically passes like 50 yards to himself, kind of, and it's just like so unrealistic, but then you like have to have a suspension of disbelief, so it's impossible. Like it's either not it's neither the here nor there whether it's worth bothering with, kind of.
Even like Stallone in Victory, right, where he wanted to be the one to score I think it was like the winning goal.
Yeah.
And they're just like, keepers don't score the winning goals ever. And he's like, fine, I want to save the winning shot.
Yeah.
So.
It's funny. I'm wondering too, like Iñárritu, which was one of the executive producers of this movie, how much input, because I know he likes football, and I don't know if you guys remember the World Cup of 2010. Do you guys remember the Nike commercial, Ride the Future, with Cristiano Ronaldo and the Simpsons?
He became Simpsons.
He directed that commercial. Iñárritu.
That was the same one where Rooney misses a shot and he becomes an old man in a trailer. And he looks like Rooney does now, but he becomes this old man living in a trailer, and then it shows how it could have been. Yeah.
So
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did that commercial too. So I'm like, wow. So he's really into football. And
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I'll share that on Twitter this week. Cool fact. All right, let's move on from Footy Flicks. Sounds like we all enjoyed it. We're running a long episode today, so I'll speed it up. Trending at the time, December 2009, was in the world of music. All the Single Ladies from Beyonce. That was in a back and forth battle with Live Your Life, Rihanna and T.I., which I liked more than the Single Ladies. Either of you guys drive around with that plane?
Not my kind of music, I'll be honest.
I think I was clubbing around that time, so I probably was listening to it, not going to lie. In theaters, Yes Man starring Jim Carrey was atop the box office, but the real news was that Twilight's dominating run, the first in a successful series about sparkling vampires, was still taking place.
Nice.
That year's highest grossing film was The Dark Knight, my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
That was still adding to its $1 billion box office take at that time. And the connection 2008. Connection between those two, of course, is that Robert Pattinson is going to play the next Batman. So 2008 was like a nice happenstance for his career, I guess. Not much was happening in the world of football at that time, of course, because being the end of December. But Manchester United did win the FIFA Club World Cup, which was their first win.
Oh yeah, that was the year they dropped out of the FA Cup to take part, and it was really controversial because they were the holders of the FA Cup, and they decided not to defend it so they could go and play in the Club World Cup because the timing clashed with when the third round would be usually.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, so they won over the Ecuadorian club, LDU Quito, which is a kind of a powerhouse in Ecuadorian soccer.
They won Libertadores that year. That's why they like LDU. I think 28. I think that's when they won the Libertadores.
That would have made sense because Man United probably won the Champions League that year, right? That was the year with Ronaldo. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Did they get punished at all by the FA for that?
No, they let them do it. It was a big thing. Like they went with their blessing. I guess they kind of said we wouldn't do it if they faced sanctions, and they didn't. They let them go.
That's kind of cool.
But I think it was like a one-off thing. They said it could never happen again. So that's how you ended up. Nice. Remember when Liverpool won the Champions League and Liverpool played twice in 48 hours? So they had to play
that's right.
They had to play a reserve team against Aston Villa in the League Cup because they were like, it's never happening again where you're pulling out of stuff because it's not. There's such a backlash against it.
That's when Aston Villa beat them?
Yeah, because he beat it was like a youth team with like a handful of first team players, but it was mostly like 17-year-olds.
Yeah, and they were celebrating they won. Yeah. They won the community shield or something. Like we beat Liverpool. I'm like, sure, man.
Liverpool kids.
That's awesome. So on the gaming side of things, FIFA 09 dropped just a couple of months earlier, and what made this one memorable to me was that Maurice Edu was going to appear on the cover in a Toronto FC kit. So, and that would be the North American version. So it would be Ronaldinho, Guilherme Ochoa from Mexican national team, and then Edu in a TFC kit. So that was super exciting, right? Because the club is only 2 years old. So imagine if the Wanderers were going to be on the cover of FIFA or in FIFA. And then at the last possible second, he gets signed by the Rangers out of Scotland. So they stripped him of the TFC jersey. They put him in a U.S. men's jersey, and that's that. Yeah, so if you Google it, you can still see the original TFC cover, which is kind of cool, but the on-the-shelf version didn't have TFC on the cover.
It never got printed, though, but it will be cool just to print just a case, just to have it, like... If you customize it, if you're a TFC fan, that's the cover that never made it. It's kind of like an original.
I'm sure they did print it, right? Like he got signed at the end of August, I think, like near the end of the transfer window. Mm-hmm. So you probably would have had like those being made in Mexico and like a stack of them ready to go out, and then you got to pull the cover.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think which version of the cover I have. Oh, here we go.
There you go.
Memo Ochoa, Edu, and Ronaldinho.
Yeah,
good Photoshop job on Edu.
Yeah,
you never know.
That's too bad. So that was training in 2008, December 2008.
It must be nice, like having that. Like I'll probably buy the giant poster if I'm like a TFC fan, like diehard fan. Like,
oh man, I was super excited, and then that happens. So I think I had an emulated version of the DIEZ game, so I was able to download the JPEG of him wearing that, and that was like as close as I could get.
Yeah.
Nice.
Every time. Carlos, we're moving on to the players game, and we're throwing you right into the fire with this one.
Yeah.
So this is our bi-weekly game. Normally we use players. This time I'm going with clubs. Mm-hmm. So here's how it works. So I hope your knowledge of Mexican clubs is up to par. I'm going to give you a club.
Yep.
I'm going to tell you the year they were founded. And then I'm going to give you the next club. You have to tell me if they're older or younger than that club.
Wow. Okay.
So Adam's record is 6 last week. Before that, there was like a couple of us tied at 3. So anything above 3 is good. If you beat 6, that'd be amazing. You ready to go?
Ready.
Okay. Club America was founded in 1916. Is the Club Tigres newer or older?
A little bit newer.
Newer. Okay, you're right. So Club Tigres was founded in 1960.
Yeah.
Club Santos Laguna. Are they newer or older than Tigres?
They're older. No.
2.
Santos.
1983, the year of my birth.
No.
Oh, really? Huh.
Santos Laguna.
Yeah. So we are finally at the Matchday Matinee table. So a refresher at the top of our table for this season is Looking for Eric. Second place is Baggio, the Divine Ponytail, the Divine Cadino. And in third place is My Summer with Des. Carlos, have you seen any of those other 2 movies?
I saw Divino, Codino.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen what's the other one?
Looking for Eric, and I hope you've never watched My Summer with Des.
No, I haven't. I haven't seen those, but I'm glad that by your comment, I can tell that at least Rudo y Cursi can be. It's not going to be the last one.
Hey, I don't know. People have been hitting me up for copies of My Summer with Des, so who knows?
Really?
Yeah.
I had 2 people DM me asking me for copies of it, and it's like, what the hell?
Did you see our YouTube comment?
No.
No, so somebody on YouTube was like, and this is funny, this is hilarious because of our conversation. He was like, he found our YouTube review of it and he said, oh man, I was hoping to find a stream of this movie so I could relive my childhood. I guess I'll keep searching for another day. And I was like, number 1, I hope you never find this movie because it's terrible. It's going to ruin your memory of it. Number 2, how are you watching this movie as a kid? There's like they took one sex scene and they chopped it up into like 35 different pieces, and they interspersed it like every 30 seconds. So he'd be like, I can't wait to watch the match today. And then it's a girl moaning for no reason. So
Oh my God.
I don't know if you watched this as a kid when his parents were asleep, but I hope it wasn't like family dinner around the table watching this.
Is it about soccer though? Or?
Yeah, it's about Euro 96, kind of. It does have a lot of archive footage in it and stuff, which is why it's hard to find, because UEFA own the rights to all that footage.
It's a cool concept, and they just completely dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Picture like I liken it to like Power Rangers when they took the Japanese footage of them fighting the monsters.
Yeah.
And then they added the high school segments around that. So imagine the monsters is amazing Euro 96 footage, and then the high school stuff is this like drunken idiot who somehow gets like the girl of everyone's dreams to fall in love with her, and then she also has superpowers. She has time traveling powers.
Oh, God.
It's a terrible movie. It's bottom of the table. Don't worry about it. Let's move on to Rudo y Cursi, which is a fantastic movie. I'm going to nominate it for the top of this table because despite my few grievances that I think I mentioned, which were not many, the whole stuff kind of threw me off. But like the conversation that we had about it kind of makes sense that it wasn't really what I thought it was. I'll chalk that up to bad subtitles. But awesome performances all around. I'm going to rate it first on this table. Good soccer, non-soccer Footy Flicks, but still enough to make me love it. Adam, where are you placing this on the table?
I was coming in thinking second after looking for Eric, but I'm not opposed to it being above it, if I'm honest. Like, it is good. Looking for Eric's such a weird film, too. Like, it's not really a football film. It's like a philosophy film inspired by football, kind of. Like, a man's journey through, like, mental health. It's a strange...
But it's not even that, because in the third act, it falls apart, and they're like, let's go on these Hijinks adventures, put that on VooTube. It's called YouTube. And it's like, wasn't this guy dealing with, like, severe mental issues and alcoholism? It's really weird.
Yeah, it is weird how he's essentially cured at the end of the film because he vandalized his gangster's house.
Oh, there's a dad in it.
Don't watch it. Well, sorry, looking for Eric. Watch that.
I'll watch that.
Yeah, I think first is fair. I don't know where it'll be at the end of the season, but it's definitely a good film. There's got a lot of charm to it, a lot of humour, and good Footy Flicks too.
And I'm going to throw this out there because we often bring this up, but we never hold any films accountable for it. This is a good soccer movie.
Yep, where the football is the main plot device, and also like it's about football as well. Yeah, so it's something that both carries the plot and is about the movie is about it as well. Yeah.
So it's the story is about two brothers, but soccer is central to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Carlos, you've seen The Divine Ponytail. Would you rank this above that?
Yeah. I'll rank it because I like a lot The Divine Ponytail, but I feel like there's so much good material about Roberto Baggio. To me, he's one of my top 10 players. I'm like, he was just like pure flair that I was so disappointed that they centered too much in 1994. I wanted to see his Juve days, his Brescia days, even that he's passed by AC Milan, all the stuff like.
Well, even in '98, right? Like his redemption in '98. I think that's what our argument was. This was the Baggio trilogy, but they didn't make the first or the third movie. They just made like the really depressing Empire Strikes Back part of it, and then
or even if they didn't want to do a show and just do movies, just do a trilogy and made that the '94 just the second movie. The third one could be just.
Well, it needed to be a series. They could have made an entire series.
It would have had more time to breathe. They could have actually built up to the World Cup, and then shown some of that after, like a 6-part series, 45-minute episode or something. This would have worked way better.
And people would love to see other actors to play other players like Gianluca Pagliuca, like a young Maldini, stuff like that. That they probably it will add more flair to the movie. This is Gianluca.
To cover that,
Yeah.
People probably would have wanted a full season with like the Fiorentina Nintendo kits, right? Just to like
exactly.
You go over those, right? Yeah.
I wanted to see Batistuta, man. He was a beast who played Batistuta.
Right? Like they could have even gone to like into his match against Maradona, I think, when they played Napoli and the goal that he scored again. But they didn't do any of that. So missed opportunity. And that's why it sits firmly below this movie, I think, for all of us. We don't usually do news on this podcast, but the Zlatan trailer dropped. I don't know if you guys have seen that. No?
What is it?
I think Zlatan Ibrahimovic himself shared it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't watch it. I think it's in my watch later list on YouTube.
Okay, check it out.
Around to it,
You guys tweeted about it.
Yeah,
we shared it on Twitter. Yeah.
That's how I find out, and I got super excited because I read the book I'm Zlatan.
Cool.
And then I saw a documentary about Zlatan on Netflix. But a movie, like, that's awesome. Like, that's just another level. Like, and he's gonna market it like crazy, that movie.
It's so funny. Like, the caption for the tweet was like, "I am Zlatan, official movie trailer," all caps lock. So it's just like
so Zlatan,
him, right?
Yeah,
it's all be cool. And then another thing that's going to come out is the Jamie Vardy docuseries about him buying the Rochester Rhinos, which seems to be a trend now because they're also doing one about Wrexham. Ryan Reynolds and Rob McInerney, I think his name is.
And now they're sponsored by TikTok for next season, which has got to be one of the craziest sponsorship deals for lower league football. Like
what, 4th or 6th division, I think they're.
Yeah, like a Chinese conglomerate is now sponsoring.
Celebrities are buying teams. Like,
it's weird, isn't it? Right, like LeBron James owns like 2% of Liverpool. It's like, okay, that's just like a passing business interest for him. But then for like Ryan Reynolds to be like all in on, we're buying Wrexham, and here's what we're gonna do. And they did similar to what Michael Eisner did when he bought Portsmouth. Like, did a big video presentation to sell it to the fans, so that because the fans voted on whether they wanted to sell to Ryan Reynolds, and it's just like, good for them. See where it goes.
Well, because you have so many like kit nerds too, right? That'll buy a kit from this club like across the ocean just because it's sponsored by these two guys.
Yeah.
So there's crossover appeal in all of that, right? Like, it's so weird for Jamie Vardy, a USL division club
who aren't even
Rochester.
active at the moment. I don't think they're actually.
No, they're defunct.
Yeah,
they've been defunct since like 2017, I think. And it's not Flanders; it's Rochester.
So weird.
Like, their cuisine of choice is a garbage plate. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that.
No.
Get out of here and Google garbage plate. You'll see it.
I wish a celebrity buys or sponsor my beer league team. You know, that would be cool.
You can sponsor it if the price is low enough. We'll throw Matchday Matinee on there for you.
Yeah. Just give us new kits. As long as it says Adidas new or kids? Something there, like,
no deal, man. We can't with t-shirts. We can give you t-shirts, nice cotton t-shirts.
No, I'm just joking. But what I mean is just like, like even in MLS, like you see Austin FC is run by Matthew McConaughey and Will Ferrell.
No, Will Ferrell is LAFC, but if you look at LAFC, they're owned by like 32 different people.
Oh, okay.
Because that league's only poised to grow, right? It might hit a bubble at some point. It might like burst the bubble, but like if you bought a franchise, when TFC got in, I think it was 25 million for a franchise, and now they're worth like 200 million. Even David Beckham, when he signed his deal, actually TFC paid like 10 million for theirs. David Beckham had a deal where he could buy a franchise for 25 million at any point. And then when he finally retired, he started Inter Miami. And at that point, franchises were like 250 million or 200 million. So
that's a good deal,
right? Yeah. So that's why you'll see that. But,
so we'll see eventually Drake buying York United.
York United, yeah. That's why they did the gold, because eventually they just get rid of the green and then do the black. They'll do the black.
That's it.
We're gonna see that.
I'm rocking New York today. York cap.
Yeah, nice.
That's it for today, guys. I think we talked a lot about this movie. We all enjoyed it. Give it a star rating. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Adam?
I think that's actually what I gave it when I ranked it on Letterboxd after I watched it. So, yeah.
Carlos?
I'll give it a 4.
4? That's what I expected. Okay, so we all enjoyed this movie. Go out and watch it. Thank you for joining us today. Adam, if the people want to find you, where can they do that?
Joypad Goalposts on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. Safe travels as you head back to the homeland. Good luck to England. By this point, we'll already know if they've won it or not.
Have a pint and a pie. That's what pie.
Carlos, thank you so much for joining us today. If people want to reach out to you and see what you're doing, get to know more about you, where can they do that on Instagram and Twitter?
Oh, they can follow me with Benny Golazo with a Z. It's all my socials with that the same name, Benny Golazo.
Perfect. You want to pump DIEZ football? Is it DIEZ football or DIEZ football?
DIEZ. It's DIEZ football in all the socials as well. It's just like a project that I do. Just follow it and see for good footy content.
You've got your own reviews on there as well, I've seen. And then also you have the website. You have a story about Adidas' collab with Star Wars going back about 10 years now, which is really cool. I checked that out.
Yeah.
And you also have a story about Panini stickers.
Yeah. For the Euro album, I did a review. So it's all like footy design, stuff like that. You guys check it out. Just another review. The other side of soccer, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Football for soccer people, I think is what you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. Be proud of it. Pump it. As for myself, I am Mark Guilherme. You can find me on Twitter at MarkA3 and on Instagram at A3Football. Thank you so much for joining us. From the terraces to the theater of dreams, we are Matchday Matinee.